This PowerPoint presentation examines the English concepts from Years 3, 4 and 5 in order to outline the preparation teachers and students have taken to prepare for the upcoming NAPLAN test. Like many types of assessment, there are benefits and limitations to NAPLAN. The benefits include the ability to share data that helps to identify aspects requiring attention across the school system and outlines areas where extra funding is needed to support these. The teacher is able to identify the needs of each student and differentiate learning experiences to better scaffold each child's needs, and the student benefits by having this differentiation in order to progress through their learning. The limitations, however, show that there is too much pressure placed on students to complete the assessment. Standardized tests like NAPLAN assess a certain aspect of students' learning, such as literacy and numeracy, and use this as a benchmark for student performance. This benchmark is used to help further inform policy development, resource allocation, curriculum planning, and intervention needed, all of which are sought after knowledge when assessing students' learning and development. An obvious benefit of testing is that the information obtained enables teachers to develop individualized approaches for students, while also providing the information needed to adjust their teaching strategies. A limitation in testing will see that teachers feel pressure to ensure that their students all know and understand the knowledge required to complete the tests. This often affects their pedagogy, the learning opportunities provided to students, and the students' individual learning styles and curriculum choices. Scaffolding is the support teachers and students give to each other to extend them from what they already know to what they will know. Through explicit teaching of required skills and knowledge, students move to a higher level of understanding to ensure that a range of literacy skills are being developed among students. We use explicit teaching and then scaffold students until these skills are used independently. Using the Australian curriculum, we progressively build on students' knowledge from context to context across the three strands of language, literature, and literacy. In fact, since 2006, NAPLAN has been aligned with the Australian curriculum in order to assess student performance in general literacy capabilities. Being a reader means knowing how to interact with various types of text used for various purposes. Each time we read, we modify the process to suit the text being read. The Australian curriculum classifies texts as informative, imaginative, and persuasive. Knowing about the different types of texts, the audience they are written for, and the text purpose enables the reader to use their knowledge of the content and predict what will follow next. The example test provides an example of how students' ability to differentiate between the types of texts allow them to evaluate the information provided. They will use their knowledge of language and textual features to identify that this example aims to persuade the reader to apply for the positions advertised in the Captain's Chronicle. As with the purpose, audience, and different types of text, a text feature outlines the plot, setting, characterization, mood, and theme of a text. From Years 3, 4, and 5, students progress through discussions on the effect that particular language has on text and how this can be used to engage the reader through various interpretations and viewpoints. Students are required to interpret the information in this section and make inferences based on their knowledge of text features. The heading, calling all swashbucklers, outlines the main idea of the text. Swashbucklers can be paired with the main idea of the captain of a ship. The bold print in Take a Look signals an importance of the vocabulary being used, in this instance, persuading the reader to continue reading the positions vacant among the ship. Students will use this knowledge to answer the question outlined in the example. Comprehension relating to reading means we must understand written text. We read for one purpose, to gain meaning from the text, to understand and to comprehend the written message. From Years 3 to 5, students are explicitly taught skills that enable them to make connections while inferring and visualizing. The example test provides an example of how students' comprehension skills are required to locate and retrieve answers while being able to interpret the information and infer meaning. This job description in particular does not outline that the carpenter needs to be competent in stitching wounds. However, a student can infer that this is a requirement as it outlines sewing skills are useful if the crew are injured in the line of duty. Assessment is a process that monitors students' learning progress. Assessment should facilitate learning and identify achievements. Assessment of student learning takes place at different levels and for different purposes. This includes ongoing formative assessment, summative assessment, annual testing of students in Years 3, 5, 7 and 9 as part of NAPLAN, and periodic sample testing of specific learning areas as part of the NAP program. Fontes and Purnell is a benchmark assessment system aimed at providing teachers with precise tools and text to observe and quantify specific reading behaviours and then interpret and use that data to plan meaningful instruction. One of the benefits of this assessment is that it enables teachers to determine students' instructional and independent reading levels, recommend placement level for instruction, and identify students who need intervention or help. The NAPLAN Marking Guide enables teachers to maintain a consistent marking approach to students' writing which aligns with the Australian curriculum standards. The marking criteria is used to assess students' writing using analytic criterion-referenced marking guides that consist of a rubric outlining 10 marking criterion and annotated sample scripts. The benefit of this is that it is effective in both middle and upper primary, where texts are more detailed and complex. The use of a rubric or checklist aligned with the content descriptors across the relevant year level in the Australian curriculum enables teachers to identify the degree to which the students have met the requirements of their speaking and listening task. This assessment will outline the requirement of the student, an area to identify if the requirement has been met, and a section for the teacher to include any comments about the student's ability to meet the requirement. The benefit of using a rubric or checklist is that it provides teachers with valuable information on how a student is developing, while providing valuable baseline data for later comparison. Conferences between students and parents are an effective way to report feedback about student learning and assessment results. The benefit of this form of reporting is that it allows for students to outline their literacy goals to parents and teachers, and for teachers or parents to outline their literacy goals for the student. The student can then provide examples of their work and how they have met the goals created. Although assessment has its limitations, it is essential in learning to effectively progress from one point to the next.